microorganisms ataupun specifically the bacteria and also organisms that involved in nutrients cycles should be discussed together. So lebih senang. Kalau tak ada like minggu depan lecture lain, lepas tu lagi satu lecture lain. So it's quite you cannot relate that. Okay. Okay. Syairin okay? Syairin sihat? Nurin?
Sihat.
Farahin?
Sihat.
Nisrina?
Sihat, Doktor.
Sarah? Sarah?
Ada.
Sarah seorang lagi. Sarah ada satu ke dua?
Ada 2 orang.
Zoharis okay Zoharis?
Okay tu.
Iklima?
Okay.
Wan Nur Nasrin?
Okay, Doktor.
Okay. So I would like also again to remind who has not yet submitted your assignment or lab report, you have to send that to me by this Friday. If not, I won't accept the lab report. Because what, as I mentioned to you, for example, petang ni still lagi saya tak ada lab. We have finished our lab, we have finished our lab session. I hope you can focus on submitting or completing all the things that you are pending. Okay. So siapa yang hantar lambat, as I told you before, I will deduct marks on that because it's not fair for some of the some of your friends who are struggling to submit that on time. Okay. So I will only receive until this Friday. Okay, hope you guys can submit the either the assignment ke apa on time. Okay, ada yang due date dia tak sampai lagi. Okay, yang tu tak apa. Follow the due date. Siapa yang ada overdue tu please submit dengan segera. Okay. Okay, so nampak tak screen saya? Saya dah share ke? Belum Okay, hope I would like to remind, please give full attention during this lecture because it is one of the core and important topics which of course lah surely it will come out in your final. Okay, semua soalan final semua ada, which is starting from after the midterm. And macam soil, it is also related to the physical which you have go through walaupun dah lepas midterm, but you still have to remember because it is applications that you have to interrelate, kan? Okay. So our topic for today is about soil nutrients, and also we will touch briefly on the roles of microorganisms in determining the soil fertility, in ensuring the fertility of the soil. Okay, so what is actually meant by soil fertility? Okay, so bila kita cakap tentang soil fertility, dia adalah tentang nutrien dalam tanah, bagaimana suburnya tanah itu. And actually when we talk about kesuburan tanah tu bukan hanya nutrien, tapi because soil, physicals, biologicals and chemicals are interrelated, that the goals is to ensure that the quality of the soils is sustainable. Okay, so what is soil fertility? Actually, it is a capacity of a soil to provide nutrients. When we talk about nutrients, relate balik. What is the core, the keywords related to nutrients? You are the cation exchange capacity. You are the type of clay that determines the fertility of the soil. Ingat perkataan-perkataan yang you belajar, dia relate. Bila you ada that, oh, soil fertility have to be connected or interrelated with CEC. Okay, then what is CEC? What is CEC? CEC ada relate dengan clay. Kenapa sandy soil tak ada nutrient? Kenapa clayy soil ada nutrients? Okay, so and also when we talk about soil fertility, the most important keywords, ingat saya ajar, organic matter. Organic matter is the key for the soil to live, to like be alive. Okay, macam dia hidup. Okay, without organic matter, Salt is like macam benda bukan benda yang macam meja je. Dia tak boleh nak ada life on it. Okay. So soil quality is a broad concept. When you talk about soil quality, it is integrated of a few factors, integrations of few factors. Okay. So of course, kalau dalam soils kita ada what we have as physical factors, then we have chemical factors, and also the last one is the biological factors. Okay, so the goals is to achieve a good soil quality. Okay, what is the measurement? Okay, so the measurements of a good soil quality is it can hold nutrient. Okay, it can mineralize nutrients, it can hold water and release water, it can promote growth, and can be a good habitat for the soil organisms, and it can resist degradations. That is some of terms that how we want to indicate a good quality of soil. Meaning that apa yang saya nak cakap is that a good soil quality of soil bukan hanya dia boleh pokok boleh hidup atas dia. No, it is also to resist degradation. Okay, from what you have seen nowadays, adakah the land management, the land quality is good? Okay, land is broader than the soil, tapi it includes the soil kan? Okay, does nowadays it can resist degradation? Okay. Okay, so a recap of good soil requirement, it have of course a good soil structure, it can infiltrate water well, it have a good pH which you have learned, it have a good soil salinity, okay, low salinity, it has low levels of potential toxic elements, it have balanced fertility. Ada lagi yang tak dilalami which is the organic matter, a good contents of organic matter, and also educate ataupun variations of organism. These are some list of how you want to recall ataupun you nak combine the good types of a good soil requirement. Okay, so we go back to our main topic, which is the mineral nutrients. As you know, plants is autotroph. It depends on the soil to obtain the minerals, but it also depends on the sunlight and also carbon dioxide, because they want to do the photosynthesis process and also to maintain or to develop their growth. Okay, so based on the classifications, this is what you dah belajar sebenarnya during the PPS. I've introduced to you briefly. So nutrient is divided into two, which is the macronutrients and also the micronutrients. As we know, the macronutrient is including the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, which we can obtain from the air and water. And also the main macronutrients, which is bila kita cakap tentang macam baja lah, nutrien dalam tanah ni, baja dia adalah it can be divided into two, which is primary and secondary. Which is the primary is the main that required in a large quantities. That is the core that support the growth of the plants. Okay, while the secondary support the secondary growth, secondary nutrients for the plant to grow. Okay, then we have micronutrients. Okay, what differentiate between the macronutrients and the micronutrients is the quantity of the nutrients needed. Okay, nama pun macro, of course macro is needed in a very large amount, while micronutrients are needed in very small amount. Meaning that if micronutrients are not only micronutrients are excessive dekat dalam soil, it will restrict, dia akan menyekat availability of macronutrients. Sebab micronutrients ni dia kebanyakan dia adalah acidic metals ataupun acidic cation, that it will compete the site of CEC. Dia akan compete nak duduk dekat tanah tu. Jadi calcium, magnesium are prone to loss, prone to leaching, hilang daripada tanah, sedangkan dia diperlukan dalam keadaan yang banyak kan. Okay, so micronutrients ni yang duduk kat tanah, tapi micronutrients are not needed by the plant. Plus Micronutrients ni dia adalah acidic cation that it brings acidic acidic behavior to the soil. Jadi tanah you akan semakin berasid, which is not favorable for the crops. Okay, and also the organism. Okay, so banyak effect dia kan. Okay, so we will go one by one. Okay, so nitrogen, not oil lah, but which involve nutrient yang penting dan juga yang ada cycle. Okay, selalunya yang ada cycle kita ada nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur and also sulfur yang ada cycles. Okay, yang lain tu sebab it's not majorly important to majorly needed lah kan, although it's still important but not major. Okay, so nitrogen, the core of everything. Okay, why? Because nitrogen is the part of all proteins which include the formations of enzyme which are needed in biological process, including the growth, the physiological changes of the plants, the growth, and also apa ni? Semua melibatkan nitrogen. Okay, so plant deficiency in nitrogen will show a chlorosis symptom. Okay, kalau you nampak pokok-pokok you tu dia ada brownish or yellowish, dia starting with yellowish. That is what we call as chlorosis. Okay, warna dia bertukar jadi macam warna kuning, patches yang warna kuning. Okay, so bila dia tukar jadi warna coklat dan kering-kering, itu kita panggil necrotic. Okay, so excessive of nitrogen, dia kena be optimum. When we talk about nutrient, it has to be optimum. Bukan kena letak banyak-banyak because it will cause toxic. Sama juga manusia, macam you makan vitamin C too much. Okay, so your plant cannot your body cannot accept the nutrient in that large amount. It have to be balanced kan. Okay, so excessive of nitrogen also will cause problem, which maturity plant will delay. Sebenarnya nitrogen ni is needed during the vegetative growth. What is vegetative growth? Adalah peringkat permulaan. Contohnya macam pokok kelapa sawit. Okay, kita bahagikan pokok kelapa sawit ni dia boleh hidup dalam 15 hingga 18 tahun. Okay, even 20 years, tapi I'm not sure. That is dependent on the variety, but what I've learned saya belajar dulu kan, dah lama, jadi dia boleh hidup 18 hingga 20 tahun, tapi usually sampai 15 tahun macam tu lah, it depends. Okay, so kalau macam pokok palm ni dalam umur dia 5 tahun kita panggil dia young plant. Maksudnya bila dalam keadaan dia muda, dia menghasilkan sel-sel yang baru. Dia sentiasa macam muda, peringkat muda. So, bila you letak over nitrogen, okay, the maturity of the plant delayed. Maksudnya dari segi cell wall dia tak matured. Okay, so bila cell wall tak matured ataupun dekat akar dia sel-sel dia tak matured, okay, it is susceptible to disease sebab dia macam daun muda kan, lembut kan, so it is easily penetrate by the microorganisms ataupun fungus dan dia akan menyebabkan pokok tu easily kena disease. Banyak macam budak kecil kan macam fragile tangan dia, kalau sabun tak kena, sabun tak betul, ada macam apa panggil, apa penyakit kulit tu?
Eczema.
Yes, eczema ataupun apa ni, dia salah makan ke dan boleh keluar eczema juga contoh. Okay, that is mean, tapi by develop sama juga, bila dia dah besar dia tak easily kena penyakit, dia tak easily kena eczema macam orang-orang dewasa kan, kurang lah berbanding waktu kecil. That is also the same as the plant. Okay, meaning that when we take excessive, we give excessive of nitrogen, the maturity of the plant delay. Dia macam muda je. Okay, but if the nitrogen is not enough, of course lah pertumbuhan akan terbantut macam you nampak gambar rajah di bawah. It affects the apa ni, jagung punya ni. Okay, and also the growth, the yield and the growth is affected because it is the main nutrient that is needed in growth. Okay, vegetative growth. Okay, so uptake of the nitrogen by plants, just a recap, I believe you dah tahu. Okay, plants can either take either take the nitrogen in the forms of ammonium and also nitrate. Okay, jadi tapi kebanyakan pokok ambil dalam bentuk nitrate. Okay, so and store in the form of amino acid and nucleic acid. Maksudnya bila dia dah take up all the nitrogen, dia akan process through the metabolism changes and change that into amino acid. Maksudnya dalam bentuk DNA dia, dalam bentuk structure pokok daun dia, okay, dalam bentuk yield dia. Okay, so these molecules are the building blocks of proteins and also DNA and RNA semua tu lah. Okay, so these building blocks of life are passed on the trophic levels through consumptions and decomposition, which kita makan contoh sayur sawi tu, then kita transfer the nitrogen to our body. That is the cycles of that, the nitrogen. Okay, so when we talk about nitrogen in the soils, the inputs are fertilizer, okay, in the form of urea, ammonium nitrates, or kita ada combinations of NPK fertilizer. Okay, baja ni ada macam-macam jenis. Kalau you nak letak nitrogen je, kita panggil dia single fertilizer. Okay, so tu adalah urea ataupun ammonium nitrate. Okay, ammonium nitrate ni kalau you nampak dia ada dua-dua. NH4 dia ada, nitrate dia ada. Okay, that is because of the technology yang nak kita panggil efficiency of the nutrient to be absorbed by the crops. Sebab kita tahu nitrogen ni dia punya losses kat bawah ni banyak. Dia boleh losses to denitrification, leaching, erosion, volatilization, which I'll explain later. Okay, jadi dia researcher ni dia cipta baja supaya baja tu can be absorbed efficiently. Okay, and kita ada NPK fertilizer. That is combinations of fertilizer yang ada nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Yang tu yang selalu nampak biji-biji warna merah ke warna hijau tu kan. Okay, so and other inputs of nitrogen is manure. Manure ni tai ayam, tai lembu yang kita selalu gunakan, tai kambing, and other organic materials. Organic materials ni maksudnya bahan-bahan decompose, contohnya macam kitchen waste yang kita buat sendiri ataupun kitchen compost. Then we have biochar. Sekarang kita baju biochar. Okay, and inputs atmospheric dispositions and also nitrogen fixation. That is, ini yang free punya nitrogen. Okay, as I mentioned to you, nitrogen gases in the air is 78%, which we can actually, it can be absorbed by the certain organisms ataupun the crops itself into the soils, and freely they can get the nitrogen. Okay, then the nitrogen cycles, okay. So this is the nitrogen cycles. We have the nitrogen which is in the atmosphere, which can enter the soil. Okay, sekejap sebab kalau macam tu tak boleh tengok skeza. Okay, this is an nitrogen in the soil. Okay, so through the existing bacteria ataupun root nodules in legumes ataupun nitrogen fixing soil bacteria, dia boleh mengikat nitrogen that is exists in the air into the soil. Okay, so two ways dia masuk. Another ways is that the applications of the baja-baja organik ni tadi. Okay, so through the decomposers ni akan digest all the organic materials and change that into ammonium. Okay, so ammonium will undergo what we call as the process of nitrification, meaning under as aerobic conditions, done by the nitrifying bacteria, that it will change the nitrites into nitrates. Okay, so this bacteria kita ada Nitrosomonas and also Nitrobacter. Nitrosomonas change the ammonium to nitrites and Nitrobacter change nitrites to nitrate. Okay, so and that is the process of the circle. But nitrogen are also prone to losses. Dia boleh hilang, which it can undergoes the process of immobilization, satu, and also denitrification that done by the denitrifying bacteria. And also yang ketiga adalah volatilization. Volatilization, dia perkataan volatilize tu, you tahu dah, dia daripada one form berpecah kepada gas. For example, bila you letak baja, dia hilang baja yang NPK yang biji-biji tu, dia tukar kepada gas amonium. Ammonia. Okay, NH3. Okay, so that is the keywords. Okay, you have to remember the keywords and the cycle, kena ingat. Okay, so the process of the mineralizations. What is the process of mineralizations? It is the changing of the organic N into the inorganic. Okay, daripada keadaan N yang tak boleh diserap, organic N is contoh macam tikus yang mati. Dalam badan tikus tu ada nitrogen. Tapi that is organic nitrogen. It has to have the microbes ataupun bacteria that can change the organic to inorganic form of ni. Sekejap, dia ada one form lagi. Okay. Okay, then you have, these are the keywords that you have to remember. Then we have immobilization. Immobilization terbalik dengan mineralization. Yang ni saya akan cerita kat bawah. Then we have nitrification. Apa nitrification? Lawan dia denitrification. Immobilization lawan dia mineralization Dua ni dia ni mineralization dengan immobilization, nitrification dengan denitrification. Okay, tapi volatilization biasa je lah. Dia standalone lah. Dia changing daripada ammonium kepada ammonia gas. Okay, maksudnya dalam keadaan yang panas dia boleh tukar jadi gas. Dia hilang lah nitrogen tu daripada soil. Then we have nitrogen fixation. Okay, nitrogen fixations are done by the organism which convert nitrogen gas into organic form of N. Okay, so kita go one by one. So what is the mineralizations and immobilizations? So mineralizations is the changing of organic N to inorganic nitrogen, which is nitrate and also ammonium. So organic N macam saya cakap, tikus, bangkai ananai, bangkai semut, bukan hanya bangkai tapi juga daun-daun kering, which has the nitrogen content in the forms of protein, in the forms of DNA, RNA yang need the microorganisms ataupun bacteria to decompose it. Okay. So berlawanan dengan mineralization adalah immobilization. So immobilization is the process yang terbalik daripada mineralization, okay, which the cellular the inorganic and are changed into organic N. Maksudnya bila di dalam bentuk amonium, nitrate ataupun ammonium, dia dimakan oleh bakteria ataupun organism di dalam tanah, dan dia bila bakteria tu makan ataupun organism tu makan, dia tukar that nitrate and ammonium tu dalam bentuk badan dia pula. Terbalik kan? Tadi saya cerita bangkai tikus jadi inorganic N. Tapi yang ni inorganic N tu dimakan oleh tikus, contoh lah, yang tikus ni contoh. Dan nitrogen tu disimpan dalam bentuk protein dalam badan tikus tu. Okay, so that is immobilizations. So how immobilization occurs is because the C to N ratio, okay, which you will see later. Kalau you tengok sebenarnya bila kita letak kita punya kompos macam kitchen kompos ataupun budget ayam, semua ni C to N ratio dia have to be correct. Kalau tak, dia jadi immobilization. Kita tak nak immobilization berlaku sebab immobilization indicates the losses of the nitrogen, nitrate, available forms of nitrogen in the soils. Okay, so this is done by the microorganisms decomposing. As you see here, okay, kalau you tengok sini, okay, so kalau tengok sini, the process of mineralization, this is the whole process. Daripada kiri ke kanan adalah proses mineralization. Maksudnya changing of nitrogen kepada nitrogen yang inorganic. Okay, so inilah ni proses mineralization. Okay, then we have apa yang kontrol tadi tu, apa yang mengkontrolkan sama ada mineralization berlaku ataupun immobilization berlaku. that is because by the oxygen level. Okay, kalau you nampak proses ni, daripada kiri ke kanan adalah proses penambahan oksigen. Jadi oksigen kena ada. Okay, so oxygen level have to be adequate. Okay, because it determine the type of microorganism. For mineralization to occur, kena ada aerobic bacteria ataupun aerobic microorganism. Contohnya Nitrosomonas dengan Nitrobacter yang hidup dalam keadaan beroksigen. Okay, so under under a well aerated soil, the NH3, tengok kat sini NH3 boleh ditukarkan kepada NO3 ataupun NH4. Tanpa oksigen, dia akan menjadi proses immobilizations. Okay, so immobilizations adalah proses penukaran inorganik kepada organik. That is because of the C to N ratio. Okay, yang ni saya akan lebih details bila kita belajar tentang kompos nanti. Okay, so KIV dulu yang ni. Okay, so please remember C to N ratio adalah carbon to nitrogen ratio. Okay, so generally microbes ni dia makan carbon. Bila dia makan carbon, nitrogen dia tak cukup, dia mula cari nitrogen tu kat dalam soil. Jadi the key here is that bila you nak supply you punya tanah dengan kompos, please make sure the carbon to nitrogen ratio of your compost is around 20 to 25 for the mineralization to occur. Okay, mineralization adalah proses yang menyebabkan ada inorganic N. Boleh menghasilkan inorganic UN that can be uptake by the crops. Okay, tapi kalau immobilization, no. Kita tak nak immobilization occur. Jadi the key is to correct to ensure that your carbon to nitrogen ratio are correct. Okay, then number 3 is the presence of resistance or inhibitory compounds that slow the mineralization such as lignin, polyphenols yang menyebabkan lambatlah proses mineralization occur. Okay, so the nitrification process is the kalau tengok tadi, nitrification is the process of actually it's an oxidation process that is done by the Nitrosomonas genus or Nitrobacter. Okay, so Nitrosomonas involved in changing ammonium to nitrite, while Nitrobacter daripada nitrite kepada nitrate. You tengok, untuk nitrogen je you akan ada 2 genus of bacteria. Okay, it has to be an autotroph or it is aerobic bacteria. Meaning that dia boleh hidup dalam keadaan yang ada oksigen. Kalau tak ada oksigen, dia tak boleh hidup. Jadi, tak bolehlah berlaku proses nitrification. Maksudnya kalau hari banjir, okay, kalau hari banjir, memang bakteria ni sama ada dia mati ataupun dia hibernate, tapi dia tak boleh function lah. Okay, so dia punya nitrogen takkan ada kat dalam tanah. Okay, so that is how it affects the soil fertility. Okay, so denitrification adalah proses yang terbalik. Okay, so daripada nitrate diturunkan kepada nitrite, nitric oxide and lastly it is losses through nitrogen gases. Okay, so this is done under the conditions of anaerobic. Maksudnya tak ada oksigen. Ingat tak kita belajar hari tu proses penurunan berlaku dalam tajuk aeration, soil aeration. Kalau tak ada oksigen, kalau oksigen dah habis, dia akan attack compound number 2 which is nitrate. Okay, nitrate dia akan dilakukan oleh anaerobic bacteria. Anaerobic bacteria akan turunkan nitrate, buang satu oksigen, buang oksigen, buang oksigen, buang oksigen. Okay, so lastly it results in no nitrogen in the soil environment. Okay, then we have what we call as volatilization. Okay, volatilization ni macam contoh ni contoh je. Ubat gegat. Okay, ubat gegat tu di dalam bentuk pepejal. Tapi kalau you letak dekat luar, dia kena panas, dia akan be volatilized. Dia akan bertukar menjadi gas. Okay, the losses are through gases. Daripada pepejal kepada gases. Sama bila you letak baja. Okay, sekejap Okay, kalau you tengok gambar Rajah ni kan, the key adalah semakin hari panas, bila you tak boleh letak baja pada hari panas tau. Bila letaklah baja pada hari panas, gas tu dia cepat lagi bertukar kepada gas. This is the volatilization. The losses of the the ammonium ditukarkan kepada ammonia. Okay, ammonia ni akan losses kepada air, udara. Okay. So that is the forms of the ammonia losses. Not only that, kalau you letak ammonia volatilizations of nitrogen. Apa panggil tahi lembu tu? Manual. Sama juga kalau you letak baja macam tahi lembu. Tahi lembu tu dia nitrogen dia tinggi tau. So dia akan cause volatilization, tak ada pula. Okay. So losses of nitrogen daripada tahi lembu tu akan melalui losses of the gases. Okay, so that is the volatilization process. Okay, so then we have ammonification. Ammonification is a good process. Okay, so dekat dalam ni you kena differentiate apa proses yang good to the soil. Nitrification is good process. Denitrification adalah yang kita tak nak. Volatilization yang kita tak nak dia berlaku. Okay, sebab this is the losses. Denitrification is losses. Volatilization is losses. Ammonification is contributing to nitrogen. Okay, so it is the decomposers that convert the organic nitrogen to the ammonium. Ammonium. Okay, sekejap ada ni. Okay. So a large number of species such as bacteria and fungi are capable to convert the organic molecules into ammonia. Organic molecules ni contohnya bakteria tu dia makan that source of organic and tu, contoh dia makan bangkai tu dan ditukarkan kepada ammonium. Okay, so there are some of the examples. Okay, then next kita move which is the good part. Okay, which is the nitrogen are changed from gases. Okay, the free nitrogen from the air is changed by the what we call as ditukarkan oleh soil bacteria such as cyanobacteria, actinomycetes, which are capable of converting the nitrogen into the ammonia and ammonium. Okay, so ammonia and ammonium dia akan ditukarkan, boleh disimpan dalam bentuk it is in inorganic form that can be used by the crops. Okay, so of course yang macam you tahu what we call as symbiotic bacteria that live inside the roots of the plants. It can helps to change the nitrogen from gases to the organic end juga. Okay, so biasanya dia akan infect dia bukan the crops can change itself, but because of the bacteria. Sekejap. Okay. Dia infect bacteria ni, dia duduk kat dalam root nodules ni, dia infect root nodules, dia jadikan root nodules ni tempat tinggal dia. Okay, so bila dia duduk dalam tempat tinggal dia duduk dalam ni, bakteria tu satu hari nanti dia akan mati kan. Okay, so that nitrogen dalam bentuk protein tu disimpan dalam badan dia dan lastly it will undergo the decomposition process, then dia akan contribute that nitrogen to the plant, to the soil. Okay, so that is how it contributes the nitrogen. Okay, so walaupun dia tak directly ikat nitrogen and give to the crops, but bila dia mati dia akan degraded and decomposed dan dipulangkan balik kepada tanah. Okay, so managing nitrogen is very very crucial. Okay, so because dia punya cycles adalah it is prone. Nitrogen ni dia bentuk nitrate. Kalau you tengok sini nitrate ni dia problem dia adalah leaching. Hilang nitrate tu. Kalau you tengok dia dalam bentuk, most of nitrogen dalam bentuk nitrate. Sikit lah dalam bentuk amonium. Okay, so bila dalam bentuk nitrate, dia soil you adalah negatif kan, selalunya dia akan pegang yang positif. So dia kurang exchange site untuk dia dan dia akan move freely dalam tanah. Dia macam terapung-rapung dalam tanah tu, tunggu roots ambil dia. Okay, so that's why dia akan prone to leaching. So the concern is that bila you letak over fertilize your area with nitrogen, nitrogen ni akan mengalir masuk ke dalam the water ecosystem and cause eutrophication process. Okay, ingatkan eutrophication, the alga bloom, that is because banyak sangat baja masuk kat dalam tasik tu and merangsang pertumbuhan algae. And pertumbuhan algae bila dia decompose perlukan oksigen and jadi oksigen kurang kat dalam tanah. Okay, so another one is the movement of nitrate cause a serious quality problems into downstream. Okay, so it will contaminate the drains through the high concentrations of the nitrates. Okay, then we have what we call as phosphorus. Okay, so phosphorus is an important plant macronutrients which it makes up about 0.2% of a plant's dry weight. Okay, it has functions in nucleic acid productions. Okay, phospholipids and energy, which is the ATP, and consequently plants cannot grow without a reliable supply of the nutrient because it is nama pun macronutrients kan. So P is actually involved in controlling the enzyme and also it is regulates the metabolic pathways and however P ni nitrogen adalah paling critical suka hilang. P pun sama. P adalah nombor 2, second most limiting macronutrients factor for plant growth sebab P pun di dalam bentuk negatif, PO4 2 minus. Okay, HPO4 2 minus, H2PO4. This is inorganic forms of phosphate ions. Okay, so kalau you tengok dalam bentuk negatif ni, usually dia akan prone to leaching. Okay, so the inputs of course sama je by fertilizer, manures, atmospheric deposition which is moles, weathering of rocks is the main. Okay, weathering of rocks ni sebab fertilizer pun dia ambil sebab dia adalah mineral dekat dalam soil. The mineral dalam rock. Okay, so the output is during crop harvest, maksudnya bila you harvest pokok, you are removing the phosphorus from the soils and the environment kan. Then erosion and also leaching. Okay, so the problems of P in soil fertility of course because of phosphorus compound are mostly unavailable for plants uptake because it is highly insoluble. Perangai phosphorus ni adalah dia ni mudah sangat bergabung dengan elemen lain dan dia jadi compound. Contohnya dia sepatutnya berada dalam keadaan H2PO4 minus tapi dia ni bila dia jumpa kalsium dia akan jadi calcium phosphate. Okay, so dia bukan dalam bentuk ionic form. Bila dalam bentuk bukan ionic form, it can't be uptake by plant. Dia dah jadi compound yang stable. So dia easily being unavailable because dia punya insoluble punya karakteristik lah. Okay, ada soalan apa-apa tak? Laju sangat saya. You have any question, Nurin? Izzah? Zoharis, ada any questions? Semua faham So another P, some pengenalan tentang P adalah P dalam tanah ada 2 jenis. Satu kita ada organic P, lagi satu kita ada inorganic P. So this organic P disimpan dalam bentuk nucleic acid, dalam bentuk chain of the carbon and protein. Okay, so that is organic P dalam bentuk organik lah dalam bentuk badan tikus ke, dalam bentuk structure daun ke, that is organic. While inorganic is dalam bentuk HPO4 minus ataupun H2PO4 negative. That is the in an ion forms. It is not ion anion forms. Okay, so however, the availability of the inorganic P depends on two factors, which are the solubility of P containing minerals. Okay, so apa maksud dia? Later we'll see. And the fixations and absorptions of phosphates ion on the surface of the soil particles. Yang ni yang saya cakap tadi, soluble, dia punya fixation. Dia ni kalau jumpa kalsium, dia nak bergabung dengan kalsium. Tengok kalau gambar ni, kalau berjumpa iron, dia nak bergabung dengan iron, dia jadi compound. Okay. So this is the phosphorus cycle. So, okay, dia ada proses immobilizations dengan mineralization, which is also depends on the contents of the oxygen level. Okay, so we also have the process what we call as desorptions and absorptions, meaning that dia ni bila jumpa, macam saya cakap tadi, bila jumpa iron dia nak jadi iron phosphate, bila jumpa aluminium dia nak jadi aluminium phosphate. Okay, bila dia jumpa calcium dia nak jadi calcium phosphate, iron phosphate, manganese phosphate. Suka sangat kan, bila ni ayat pasal lah supaya saya nak you ingat, because it is dia adalah apa perkataan tu jap. Dia adalah easily fixed, okay, because of depending on the solubility. Okay, so leaching pun dia juga, tapi leaching ni sebab dia suka sangat bergabung dengan nutrient, dengan compound lain, jadi secondary compound. Jadi leaching ni of course tak lah sebab dia dalam bentuk stable. Leaching is any ions yang berada dalam keadaan ion. Anion ke, cation ke, dia macam terapung-apung kat dalam soil tu, it is not fixed to the soil CEC exchange site, so it is easily leached away. Okay, so that is how it is formed. Okay, so ni yang saya cakap tadi. Okay, daripada soluble, okay, in acidic soil dia dalam ada aluminium, so the soluble form of phosphates are easily combined to the aluminium, forms aluminium phosphate. And in basic salts under pH basic conditions, calcium is available. Dia nak berjumpa juga dengan si calcium ni, jadi dia jadi calcium phosphate, which is insoluble. Maksudnya the plant cannot take up this P. So that is the problem. Okay, so that's why it is related to the pH. Kalau you tengok sini, kalau dalam keadaan berasid dia kawan dengan aluminium. Kalau dalam keadaan yang alkali ataupun basic, dia pergi kawan dengan kalsium. So it is very very crucial to actually adjust your pH at neutral, not to acidic, not to basic. Okay, so ni adalah beberapa examples. Okay, so under acidic condition, you nampak dia fixed by aluminium and iron. Under tak nampak ke sir? Under alkaline condition, dia fixed by the calcium. So availability dia medium. Tapi kalau dalam acidic condition, which is our soil selalu dalam keadaan beracidic, nampak availability of the phosphorus are very low and very low. Okay, so actually you have to maintain the pH at 5.5 to 7 so that the availability of pH will be, availability of the phosphorus will be highest. Okay. Okay, then these are yang saya cakap, bila you tukar pH from 6 to 8, dia jadi lagi complicated dia punya form, and it is decreasing the solubility of the phosphorus. Lagi susah you nak pecahkan ikatan dia. Okay, so how you can enhance the P availability in soils is to maintain the pH at 6 to 7. Okay, apply phosphorus what is needed. Sebab kalau you over apply the phosphorus ni tadi, dia pergi bergabung dengan orang lain. Sebab dia easily bergabung kan. Nitrogen tak, nitrogen dia punya perangai dia easily leached. Okay. Okay, so selalunya lagi satu, P ni kita tak letak dia dalam keadaan, kalau tabur kan kita selalu tabur dekat keliling pokok kan. Tapi kalau actually bila kat plantation kita buat banding. Maksudnya kita korek satu longkang, kita tanam baja tu kat dalam longkang tu. Satu garis, satu laluan. That is because of to reduce the, sebab dia suka sangat merayap dan dia pergi bergabung dengan orang lain. That is better for to kumpulkan satu tempat lah. Which is later you akan belajar ni dekat dalam plant nutrition. Okay, I will not touch on details on that. Okay, so the core, the idea of managing the P is that only apply what is needed and maintain the pH at 6 and 7 because pH is very important for the phosphorus. Okay, then we have what is the third one, which is the potassium. Okay, so the potassium ni masalah dia lain pula. Okay, so potassium is present in salt solutions as K+. Okay, maksudnya dalam bentuk K+, dia diabsorb oleh crops. Okay. Okay, so tapi the problems with K adalah usually the K are fixed. What we call as a fixed potassium. Ingat tak kita belajar type of clay? Elite, okay, clay elite ini dia ada K tapi K dia duduk dalam layers. It is very late for it to be released to the soil. Maksudnya dia adalah fixed K, fixed. Dia duduk dalam structure K. So mostly dia adalah unavailable form of K. While K yang kena ada adalah exchangeable potassium. Tapi exchangeable potassium ni pula, the problem is that it is easily leached. Kalau you tengok balik saya ajar dulu, dia punya kekuatan of the yang duduk kat CEC side tu adalah aluminium, H, K yang hujung sikit. Yang the last one if I'm not mistaken. Okay, dia calcium dulu, magnesium baru K. So K adalah easily leached. Okay. So potassium problems in salts adalah macam saya cakap tadi, quantity is small and easily exchangeable K is limited. Okay, it is prone to luxury leaching losses, while bila K tinggi sangat dia akan depress the calcium and magnesium pula. Okay, so it contents in the salt have to be balanced. Okay. Okay, so the forms and availability of K in salts, type of K is very important to determine whether the K is available or not. Okay, for example, kaolinite contain the least or no exchangeable ion. Maksudnya tak ada K kalau tanah jenis kaolinite sebab dia punya CEC are very very small. Dia tak boleh pegang K ataupun any other cations. Okay, so type of clay actually influence the ability of K. So kalau you nampak dekat sini, elite K dia fix dekat sini. Kaolinite tak ada langsung K. Smectite and vermiculite is okay sebab the K is exchangeable. Okay, so type of clay is very important. Okay, so ni sama juga tadi lah. Ada yang K duduk dekat dalam rock as the K structure macam elite tadi, it's not unavailable. Okay, kalau soil, kalau K that is trapped in the soil colloid, it is slowly available. Dia boleh ada kat dalam tanah tapi dia go through the weathering process. Lambat lah. While the exchangeable K is the most important form of K, which is a readily available K. So the factors affect the potassium in salt is the type of clay and also the influence of pH. Semua have to be like, type of clay saya dah terang tadi, have to be pH 5.5 ataupun 6 to 7. Okay, because if for example, if the pH is 8, meaning that it indicates the basic cation are more, then dia akan suppress ataupun depress the K uptake at the complete site of exchange. Sebab bila banyak sangat calcium and magnesium, dia akan duduk dekat kawasan CEC site. Dia tak kasih K duduk. Okay, look back at your lecture notes yang regarding the CEC tu, okay. So the potassium fertilizer, these are types of potassium fertilizer. Kita ada muriate of potash, kita ada sulfomag, kita ada potassium nitrate. Okay, so because it determines the content of K berbeza-beza. Okay. Okay. So selalunya kita pakai muriate of potash lah because it is a single fertilizer. Dia ada K sahaja 0060. Jadi the content of the K adalah 60%. K tak diganggu lah kalau you pakai potassium nitrate sebab dia ada nitrate juga. Kan? Tengok ni Sebab dia KNO3, dia ada nitrate. Jadi dia punya formula baja dia dalam 44% je potassium. Okay, then we have sulfur, the last one. Banyaklah cenut kita hari ni Okay, kita akan pergi sulfur dulu, then kita take 5. Okay, so we have sulfur. Okay, so sulfur macam nitrogen. Okay, dia ada atmospheric sulfur. Okay, so in the forms of carbonyl sulfide, hydrogen sulfide and also sulfur dioxide. So dari sini kita boleh indicate that we have bacteria ataupun microorganisms that can change the sulfur into inorganic sulfur sources. Okay, selalunya kita selalu terlupa sulfur. Selalunya kita cakap NPK, NPK, NPK je. Kita jarang letak baja sulfur. But please bear in mind balik, sulfur adalah macronutrients that are needed in large amount. Okay, so why it is neglected always? Okay, kenapa dia selalu dilupakan? Okay, so please check back. Kenapa? So sulfur it is uptake of course in the organic form of sulfur in the forms of sulfate ataupun sulfides. Okay, so it depends either it is a wet or dry soil. Again, aeration factors plays important roles. Okay, so kalau ada oksigen dia akan berada dalam bentuk sulfate. Kalau tak ada oksigen dia dalam bentuk sulfides and it can be losses. Dia sama dengan nitrogen punya conditions tadi. Okay, so the source of sulfur in soils are organic matter. Okay, so same as nitrogen, it need microorganisms to break down the organic sulfur to be the available forms of sulfur, which is the inorganic form ataupun soluble sulfur. Okay, so sulfur in soils, most of the sulfur in soils is found in organic matter. That's why organic matter is very, very important. In order to become available to the plants, the sulfur must first be released from the organic matter and go through the mineralization process. Okay, so the mineralization process of the sulfur is the change of the sulfur converted to the sulfate form, SO4 to negative. Saya betulkan. Okay, larilah format dia. Okay, which is readily available to the plant. Okay, so the process sama juga macam nitrogen is affected by the carbon to sulfur ratio. Okay, so it can be mineralizations and also immobilization, same as the nitrogen. Okay, so kalau dalam keadaan yang sesuai ada oksigen, dia boleh jadi mineralization. Tapi kalau keadaan yang tak sesuai, C to S ratio dia tinggi, dia akan jadi converted back to sulfur. Okay, so bertentangan dengan proses mineralization tadi. That is because due to its negative charges, the sulfate in organic form is mobile in soil. Sama juga macam nitrogen. Bila dia berada dalam bentuk negatif ataupun anion, dia repel dengan exchange sites of the soil. So dia akan easily leached. Okay, so these are the process of the sulfur. If you see the sulfur are contributed to the soils through atas ni yang awan ni. Okay, so dia jatuh masuk kat dalam tanah. Okay, it undergoes what we call minerals ataupun dia diabsorb oleh plant. Okay, dan dia masuk dalam tanah and also it go through the mineralization. So go through the mineralization from sulfides under aerated soil, dia akan ditukarkan oleh microorganisms ataupun bacteria into sulfur and also undergo process of oxidation lagi, change into sulfates SO4 2-, which is available to the crops. Then the crops can take up the sulfur dalam bentuk sulfates. But it can also be reductions, which is it undergoes the process of patah balik tadi dia under anaerobic conditions by bacteria. Kita ada bacteria yang boleh undergo buat proses demineralization juga. Okay, under anaerobic conditions. Okay, So that is because sama juga macam nitrogen, it has immobilization and mineralization process juga, which is it depends on the microbes and also anaerobic microbes dengan juga oxygen state. Okay, so these are the changings of the oxidations of sulfur. Okay, so from H2S with the addition of oxygens, it changed into the sulfate. Okay, so this is the sulfites. Okay, under oxygen conditions. Okay, it changed into sulfate. Okay, this is carried out by the autotrophic ataupun aerobic bacteria. Okay, so it can also go through the reduction process from sulfate ions. It can be unstable under anaerobic conditions, which we have reducing sulfate bacteria, desulfovibrio and also desulfotomacalum, okay, which change the sulfate into sulfur balik. Okay, under anaerobic conditions, tak ada oxygen. Okay, so sulfur and sulfur fertility maintenance, how you want to maintain the sulfur conditions is to actually maintain the organic matter. Okay. Okay, so any question regarding mineralizations? Okay, the key is that you have to understand what is mineralizations, immobilizations, what is the each of the problems of the nutrients. For example, nitrogens are losses through leaching. Potassium, they're fixed by the clay type. Phosphorus, perangai dia bila jumpa orang, dia suka bergabung dengan orang tu jadi aluminium lah. It depends on the pH. Sebab under acidic condition, dia nak bergabung dengan aluminium. Under basic conditions ataupun alkaline conditions, dia nak bergabung dengan calcium. Jadi dia jadi compound, which is bila jadi compound, it's not available for the plants. Sulfur, perangai dia lebih kurang macam nitrogen. So the importance ataupun the things that you get here is that you have to manage nutrient properly based on the chemicals behavior and also relate back to the chemicals property of soil, which is the CEC, able for it to hold the anion or not. Okay, so kalau macam nitrate and sulfur, they are prone to leaching. Potassium pun prone to leaching. That is because of the cation selectivity by the exchange site kan, dia nak pegang calcium dengan magnesium, dia tak nak pegang potassium. That is because potassium dia punya ionic radius of wide, jadi dia lebih mudah hilang daripada calcium dan magnesium. Okay, so ada soalan? Sharifah Abarina, understand? Betul, betul. Okay, bila cakap tentang microorganism, sekejap lagi saya terangkan juga. Dia macam ni, memang even dia boleh bagi nutrient, tapi that is beneficial bacteria lah kan. Contohnya macam Nitrosomonas nitrobacter tadi. Tapi kita ada yang anaerobic microorganism, anaerobic bacteria juga. Dia boleh terbalikkan proses tu daripada nitrogen tu available under condition yang tak sesuai, contohnya tanah yang bertakung air dia, anaerobic conditions, dia ni tukarkan pula, dia gunakan nitrogen tu. Okay, that is not beneficial bacteria. Yang macam Sharifah cakap tadi, itu adalah pathogenic bacteria that will also cause the disease to the plant. Okay, pathogenic bacteria ataupun pathogenic organisms, microorganism. Okay, so sebenarnya the clue is that dalam tanah ni kena ada kepelbagaian. Sebab antara bakteria itself pun by nasib ataupun because of the soil is good bacteria akan conquer the area. Ini macam contoh kawasan yang ada oksigen, aerobic bacteria dia akan duduk, jadi anaerob tak adalah berlaku proses denitrification. Sama juga dengan patogenic bakteria tadi. Kalau ada bakteria ataupun organism yang baik dan kuat, dia akan inhibit the growth of other yang tak baik tu. Okay, of course ya, baik tu lebih banyak dapat jadi daripada yang tak baik, kan? Maksudnya macam bukan semua pokok pisang kena penyakit. That is because of that conditions, microbes yang ada beneficial microbes. Memang kita ada formulatekan baja yang ada beneficial microbes so that it can combat against the pathogenic microorganism ataupun pathogenic fungus ke pathogenic organism, bakteria ke. Okay, faham? Okay, kita take 10 dulu boleh tak? Lama sikit. 10 minit so 11.10 sekarang kita akan jumpa balik 11.20. Okay?
Okay, doktor.
Okay, doktor.
11.20 Thank you.